GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is Skip Winger, and you're listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vegas.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rock star Robbie Vegas coming at you with another episode of All Bets Are Off. Today we're keeping the wrestling going. We got Gabriel Fuerza on the phone. I met Gabriel a few years back. We wrestled each other up in Oshawa in Ontario, and ever since then he's been one of my favorites. I love watching him. Every single match he has, everything he does is so smooth, so crisp. If he's somebody you haven't heard of quite yet, I urge you to go check him out. Listen to this interview. He'll give you all the details of where you can find him next, where you can find him on social media and follow him. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. He's a favorite of mine. He will definitely become a favorite of yours if he isn't already. Somebody to keep an eye out for. I personally think he's going far in this business, so make sure you jump on the brand new All Bets Are Off Twitter at ABAO Pod. Let us know what you think, and even post some clips of his matches or pictures if you're a fan who's in the area, and let's keep spreading the word about Gabriel Fuerza. So before we get into that interview, I do want to remind you all, I need you to check the links in the description of this show. We have unchainedmuscle.uk for all your workout needs as far as clothing. We're talking leggings, tank tops, t-shirts, shorts, gym bags, shaker bottles, and if you use code RVegas20 at checkout, you're going to save 20%. If you check the other link for Insane Labs, RVegas30 will save you 50% on all your supplements, protein powders, BCAAs, testosterone boosters, creatine, pre-workouts, whatever you need. At 50% off, you have no reason at least not to give it a try. And of course, it helps keep the podcast going. And I thank you guys very much for checking that out. So, without any further ado, let's get Gabriel on the phone. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking some time for us today. I know we've been trying to do this forever, and we finally nailed it down.
Yeah, no worries. I'm super excited.
I'm excited too, honestly. So I just kind of want to dive right in and talk to you right from the beginning. So how did you discover pro wrestling? Do you remember?
Pro wrestling, I'm not entirely sure. There's two memories I have that are early on. The first one being that my best friend growing up was showing me kind of like his favorite wrestler at the time was Chris Benoit. So he was just showing me, like, you know, the old, like, highlight videos of him. And the second memory I have is my parents actually had downloaded some Rey Mysterio videos because they were wrestling fans back in the day. So they downloaded some Rey Mysterio videos and they showed me that. I'm not sure which came first, but they both probably happened within a few months of one another.
Okay, awesome. So who were some of your biggest influences in the wrestling business?
In terms of, like, in-ring style, probably the number one would be Eddie Guerrero. I think at first Rey Mysterio, but I think I realized that I'm not too geared towards, like, the high flying so much. I feel like I can pull it out when I need to, but I like Eddie's style better. It's like just like maybe a sprinkle of high flying. Guys like Del Rio, Benoit. I mean, if I could match like half of Benoit's intensity, that would be the dream.
Okay.
Yeah, Malenko, like, I guess mostly technicians, but with like a sprinkle of high flyers. Like, Ultimo Dragon was always a big influence as well.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, those sort of guys, like the Japanese Lucha Libre guys, typically.
Yeah, okay. And now, how old were you when you actually started training to become a pro wrestler?
I think I was 18. It was the summer after I graduated high school, so I must have been either 18 or 17. Because my birthday's in August, so yeah, I must have been 17.
Okay, and how many years have you actually been active now?
I think about 6 now. I honestly don't even think about it that much until people ask me, and then I'm like, oh god, I've been doing this for a while now. I think about 6 years.
Okay, cool. Now, I met you up in Oshawa, like, I don't know, probably 3, maybe 4 years ago now. And since then, you've been one of my favorite people to watch. I think you're super talented.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're super talented, and I see you going to the top if you wanted to. So my question to you is, what's your end game in the pro wrestling business? Like, what's your ultimate goal?
You know what? I feel like some people would get disappointed by this answer, but I feel like my end goal is to open up a school and just kind of train the new batch of guys. Like, obviously, if I had the chance to perform at, like, a WWE event or like, New Japan, something like that, I would obviously take it. But
right.
I feel like right now my most realistic end goal would be I'm just trying to get a name for myself, like a big enough name for myself that if I were to open up a school, my peers wouldn't scoff at me. I'd want to have at least enough of a reputation where people would be like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. I would send kids to train there. Like Josh Alexander opened up his school. It just closed down, but he just opened up a school maybe a year or two ago.
Okay.
And everyone was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense because he's really good. So I just want to be that guy who's like, yeah, that makes sense. He's really good. I trust him to train people.
Okay. All right, cool. Now, you're a busy guy yourself, though. I mean, every time I look at social media, you're somewhere. So, I mean, you're clearly doing something right. So you have a pretty full schedule now as it is, right?
Yeah. Some weekends dip down a little bit. Yeah, for the most part, I managed to keep pretty busy.
Okay. Now, we're going to kind of shift off wrestling, but kind of stay on it at the same time with this next question. Is there any, certain music that you listen to amp yourself up for a match or, in the gym when you're preparing for a big match?
Okay, well, funny thing. See, in the gym, I try to listen to music that's actually really calming. And, I don't know if you've ever heard of Timber Tomber. They're I don't even know what I've described them as. They're almost folky, but kind of it's almost as if the music the Addams Family would listen to on a nice lazy Sunday. It's kind of slow and grim. And it sounds a little depressed, but it's really relaxing and it's really nice music. Actually, another wrestler, Jody Threat, showed me them, and I like listening to them in the gym because I feel like if I can keep up the intensity in the gym while listening to music that's calming me down, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a good mind of being because I've been told that in wrestling you should never be at a 10 because a 10 is that you're going to get blown up and you're going to freak out. So you want to be at a 7. So in my head, I'm if I train at a 7, then in theory maybe I can keep that 7, mindset into actually wrestling.
I wish somebody would have told me that.
I think I looked at it at a seminar actually, but it was just such a throwaway comment that he made. I think it was just a question that somebody had asked after the seminar, and he was like, "Oh, well, you want to be at about a 7." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that seems right." So that kind of stuck with me. But typically before a match, if I need a little energy boost, I mean, I really like listening to Childish Gambino before matches.
Okay.
He's got the kind of I don't know, arrogance attitude that I try to ooze a little bit. So stuff like that helps sometimes. Really, whatever. As long as it's kind of aggressive and fast paced, that kind of stuff helps.
All right, fair enough. Now, before I move into the horror movie questions, let's talk one more thing about wrestling. I wanted to know, for you personally, do you have a bucket list of guys that you'd like to face or a dream match that you'd like to have that you haven't had yet?
It's funny you asked that because I'm just now getting into a position where promoters who trust me enough to put me on their show are asking me who I want to work. Okay. And I've never really thought about it, but my number one guy that I would want to work, I guess realistically, would be Amazing Red.
Awesome. Okay.
I knew when he retired that he wasn't totally out. I could just smell it. And now that he's kind of doing his little New Japan stuff and he's going to have a resurgence, I'm definitely putting that out there. If any promoter wants to book me against Amazing Red, I will gladly take that. Him, I really like Bandito. I'm a big fan of him. Jonathan Gresham, super crazy. I know he's still kind of out there.
Oh, yeah.
This one's a little more far-fetched, but the WWE Sin Cara, he just got released. I think he's wrestling as, I don't even know what it is. It's Cinta de Oro, which I think means gold belt or something like that. I'd love to work him. On a bit of a smaller scale, there's some guys that I'd want to work. Judas Icarus, he seems to be making a name for himself down in Vancouver.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd love to work someone like that. I mean, I don't need to work like The Undertaker to feel gratified. I just want to work guys who I think I could have good matches with.
Right, absolutely. Do you feel you're in a position right now with how many years you're in and how often you work to kind of teach people some things too? Or are you still in the mindset of learning from everyone?
I'm definitely still in the mindset of learning. I had somebody ask me to do a seminar and I turned them down just because I personally would not approve of someone at my skill level doing a seminar. I just don't think it makes much sense for someone who's only 6 years in. Yeah, I can teach you little things. I go train often in Hamilton. Rip Impact's got a school there, and I'll go to train there, and I'll obviously help out if I see anything that, little minor stuff that, turn your head this way, or do this, or when you do that, try to do this, or there are moves that specifically I'm kind of good at, so they can ask me, how do you do this, how do you do that? And that's fine, but I don't feel comfortable taking people's money in such a potentially scummy industry,
right,
where people are going to take your money when they get a chance. So like, I don't want to be the guy to take the money. So maybe give me another like 5-6 years, like then I'll feel comfortable. But as of right now, I mean, all my knowledge is for free. I couldn't take anybody's money to help them. That's for sure.
Well, in a business like this where it happens all the time, that's very humble of you. See, I knew I liked you. So we're going to bring it back to the wrestling talk here in a little bit, but I did want to dive into horror movies with you because that kind of sparked me asking you to be on the podcast in the first place because we do a lot of horror movie discussions. So how old were you when you started getting into horror movies?
Probably around like grade 8 or so. My friend had gotten a box set of Friday the 13th, so we were just kind of marathoning those as the month went on. I think that's the first time that I was like really into them. And from
what was it, just like a snowball effect from there? You got into Friday the 13th, and you had to get into other things too.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Friday the 13th is. I don't want to say it's my favorite, but no, it's probably my favorite. But I think Nightmare on Elm Street what I discovered after that. And that might have been through my mom, I'm not sure. But, yeah, no, snowball effect. Just specifically slashers I like. But, I mean, really any good horror movie, I'm pretty much down for that.
I can relate to that. I'm huge into slashers, but, you know, a horror movie's a horror movie, and I'm going to check it out regardless. Now, what I saw on your Twitter was you were posting a collectible, a Friday the 13th collectible, I believe it was. So do you have, like, a huge collection of memorabilia?
I wouldn't call it huge quite yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah. Is it just like figurines, or do you do like posters?
Well, it's got a little bit of everything right now. I'm kind of low on space because I moved back in with my dad just because it was financially better for the two of us, and I decided to take the basement. And at first I thought, well, there's a lot of room, but now that I'm kind of like putting all my collectibles back to like where they are supposed to be, I'm definitely running out of space. It's mostly figurines. I started out with like the NECA Ultimate figures.
Okay.
Just because I really like how they are displayed in the box, and typically I like to keep things in the box. But now I have so many that I decided to buy like a display case from IKEA, and I took some of them out, and they're just kind of floating around. Any Funko Pop figures that I find, specifically on like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and that kind of stuff, I'll buy those. I got like a Freddy glove, got like a, what do you call it, a lunchbox, like the metal lunchboxes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's mostly different kind of figurines, like the NECA cloth figures. I got a lot of those. I got a few like Shaun of the Dead stuff. Yeah, it's mostly just figurines. Now, I do want to get like a big poster, you know, just to round it all out.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Now, I asked this because I also collect these things too, and I was wondering, do you also go to like the horror cons and things like that and look for like rare collectibles and things like that, or is that kind of not your scene?
I've never been. I've had a few on my calendar that like got canceled due to like snowstorms or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I'll do a lot of toy hunting, and typically I'll look for horror stuff. Like I collect a few other stuff like Star Wars and Power Rangers and really whatever tickles my interest. But typically what I end up looking for is horror. But no, I haven't been to like a horror con per se. Okay. Do you go back as far as like watching the black and white horror movies too? Not too much. The only like really old black and white stuff that I'll watch on occasion is actually like old Godzilla films.
Oh, okay, those are awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as far as horror goes, is there anything upcoming this year that you've heard about that you're looking forward to?
Not really. You know, I don't keep my my ear to the ground too much with new movie releases. I hadn't even heard of Hereditary until like a year after it was out. And luckily by that time it was on Netflix, so I watched it and loved it.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I know there's a few Halloween movies coming out in the next few years, so I'm definitely gonna check those out when those come out. But I don't know. I feel like I haven't seen anything that really interests me too much. I saw the new Grudge. I don't know if it's out yet, but I don't know. The trailer looked pretty bad. I probably checked out, but not until it's on Netflix or something. Yeah,
that one is out, and I haven't really checked out any reviews because sometimes I feel like the reviews make you go into it with a biased opinion. But I wasn't sure what to think about it, but we'll see. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a strange question because this is going to combine horror and wrestling. So you ready for this one?
Okay.
Do you think watching like a horror movie or something like that, like a slasher, before having a match would really amp you up and like get you ready to like just wreck your opponent?
Yeah, I can see why it would. I don't know if the whole movie, because like I get really sleepy when I watch movies, but I feel like if I watch like a music video kind of thing, like I remember I used to watch Freddy vs. Jason music videos.
Oh yeah,
like to Slipknot or something. Like that would probably end me up pretty good.
All right, cool. Now, since we're bringing the discussion back to wrestling, give me your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers.
Okay, Eddie Guerrero definitely is number one.
Okay.
Oh, it's a hard one because immediately I think of Mysterio. Mount Rushmore. Oh man, I mean, when I think of like the best wrestlers, like I think of the guys who like managed to make everything look super like aggressive. Like probably Tiger Mask.
Okay.
Because like all his high flying looks so like deliberate. You know what I mean? Like like I see a lot of stuff nowadays that like I hate the word like looks choreographed because I don't think that it looks choreographed is the problem. I think it just doesn't look aggressive. I think that's the problem. Because like Tiger Mask is out here doing cartwheels into backflips into kicks off the chest onto his feet, and it's like like that looks choreographed too, but somehow it looks better. And why is that? It's because there's this aggression. You know what I mean? And the other guy isn't like standing there waiting to catch you. He just turns around the last second to eat whatever it is that is coming at him.
Right.
So let's say Tiger Mask, Guerrero, Mysterio. Oh man, I feel like I polarize you when I say like a Benoit, but man, he was so good.
He really was. He really was.
It sucks because like it is a polarizing answer. Some people just refuse to hear it. But yeah, I might go Benoit. How many? Mount Rushmore. How many is that? That's 4 or 5.
Yep, that was 4. So I mean, if you want to throw in an honorable mention, feel free.
Honorable mention, man. Now let's give it a 4.
Okay. So now, next question is about your career personally. Give me somebody that you feel like you've had your best match with, and what made it so special. Like what went into that? Kind of like not so much pull back the curtain, but just a little bit. Like give the listeners just a little something.
Well, I mean, the easy answer would be Von Vertigo.
Okay.
We've wrestled, I mean, at least 30, 40 times by now, and that's just actual shows, let alone training. Let me think of a specific match.
And we'll tell the listeners, too, that you guys are also a badass tag team, Fight or Flight.
Yeah. If you include their tag matches, like, I can't even imagine how many times we've been in the ring together.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we had a match not too long ago. He just won the Barry heavyweight title, and I know that meant a lot to him because the two of us have been at Barry since Barry started, which just happened. It happened to coincide with when we started wrestling, and I don't know. I know he felt as if he got kind of like pushed aside because I ended up winning pretty much all of the major titles there.
Yeah, and
I think this was his first single title there. And he wasn't expecting it, and it was hush-hush, and he didn't even know until the match was over. So I know that meant a lot to him, and I think I was his second defense, and it was the 5th anniversary show, and we were the first match for that company, ever. So now, we were the main event for this show 5 years later, and I think it was a really good match. I really think we knocked it out of the park. It's just everything felt good, everything clicked.
Yeah.
We're so comfortable with each other that we trust each other enough to just figure it out. And with any other match, how things could have gone different here or better there, or there could have been a little more aggression here, you know what I mean? But for what it was a really good match. The crowd was really, really into it. They were kind of divided both ways. And I think all the near falls, I think everybody bit real good on them. Yeah, I think that was probably one of my most favorite matches, especially recently.
It sounds like that match was like a roller coaster of emotions for a lot of reasons for you guys.
Yeah.
If I asked you who some of your favorite opponents were in general, who comes to mind first? Give me maybe your top 3 or 4.
Okay, well, let's say Vertigo doesn't count.
Yeah.
He's already there.
Right. We already talked about him. Give me 3 or 4 different ones.
I've always really liked wrestling Alexia Nicole.
Okay.
I don't think she realizes how good she is. She's always been good. So her and I trained together, and she's always been good. And I'm not just saying that because she's my friend. I really always believe that, and especially not all girl wrestlers pick it up quite as quickly. Mm-hmm. And she picked it up really quickly, and it's just one of those. She's one of those people that there's this I don't know barrier. She's just oh, I'm just not good at this, so I'm not going to do it, or you know what I mean? She's one of those people who you can tell her, hey, do a pile driver. And she'll do it perfectly the first time.
Oh, okay.
She's just one of those people. But at the same time, she's, afraid to do it. But it's when she does it, she's oh, that wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? She's just extremely talented, but for some reason, there's just this, level of fear that's kind of blocking her from really, I don't know, expanding.
Gotcha, okay.
She's really good. Let me see here. I really like wrestling Holden Albright. He's very, very creative. Oh, Daniel Garcia. He's great to wrestle.
Oh, he's amazing.
I feel like him and I could go on the fly for like a half hour and just not even worry about it. He's a lot of fun to wrestle, and he really brings it out of you. You know, like that intensity. Sometimes some matches don't have that like I don't know, like rough and tough kind of style.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're bad, but like he really brings it out of you where it's like he's gonna hit you and you're gonna hit him harder, and he's gonna hit you harder and you're gonna hit him harder. You know what I mean? and you're only gonna go closer with every hit. So like he's always fun to wrestle.
Well, he's the Red Death. Of course, he's got to hit you harder. Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky. There's like the people in my kind of circle. They're all pretty good. Pretty easy to wrestle. Like I rarely have a match where I'm kind of like, oh, great, like this is gonna be an uphill battle. Everybody around here is really like open. There's no like arguments, you know, like petty arguments over, oh, I don't look strong, or I need to look stronger, or my character wouldn't do that, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, yes I do.
Everybody's very relaxed.
Okay,
and,
very cool.
Yeah, arguments pop up here and there, but nobody takes themselves seriously enough, I think.
That's huge. That's a good and rare thing in this business, so that's cool that you have that kind of circle around you. You talked about two things that I wanted to ask you about while you were naming some of your favorite opponents. Intergender wrestling seems to be a hot topic of conversation these days, and obviously you mentioned Alexia Nicole as one of your favorite opponents. So what do you have to say to those people who are totally against the idea of intergender wrestling?
I'm on two boats, because I love intergender wrestling when it's done properly. I think there's a story to be told there that I'll admit some people miss the mark on.
Yes.
Some people have intergender matches, and it's just like there's no real story there. Like it's very just aggressive and like, which is fine. Like I don't mean that like they shouldn't be aggressive. I just mean like there's an opportunity to tell a story, especially with someone who's smaller than me, where like they want to see the girl typically beat the crap out of the guy, right? And with somebody smaller than me, I can like post for them and make them look really good. And at the same time, I don't need to like kick her head off to get a superhero reaction. You know what I mean? Like all I need to do is like grab her, look like I'm going to punch. If you just note that, you don't even need to punch. Like you save the punch for later. And like all of a sudden, like you build, and finally, like in the last minute or 30 seconds, like you punch her square in the face. And the fans are just like, oh my god, like what did I just see?
Right.
So I think there's an extremely easy, simple story to be told there. I think it's ludicrous to think that like girls aren't as strong or as fast or as aggressive or as technically sound as men, especially like in a sport like this where like I'm not really punching her and she's not really punching me. Like we might be hitting each other, but we're not trying to kill each other. It's not MMA. It's not like in a sport like that, MMA and like cross country or something like that. Like yeah, there's an unfair disadvantage. But the advantage that wrestling has is that it's one part sport, one part theater. We can make each other look however we want. I can make her look like Kane if I wanted to, right?
Right, absolutely. It
doesn't matter if she's a foot shorter than me. So,
right.
I don't know, like the people like that, I say like just give it a chance. Like you might not like it, fine, and that's okay too. Because I don't like the whole like if I tweet today I don't like intergender wrestling, then I'm gonna get dragged, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's my choice. I don't need to like everything, you know? Like, and I agree, people don't need to like intergender wrestling. Like, if that's not for them, that's not for them. That's fine. Some people don't like hardcore wrestling. Some people don't like lucha. Some people don't like WWE. You know, like, you like what you like, and you can't force people to like everything. So people are going to dislike intergender wrestling, and that's fine. But to the people who actually give it a try and then decide that they don't like it, you know, that's a little better. I think the most you can ask people to do is just try and watch, and hopefully they watch one that they think is interesting, because, like, I think it's super easy. Like, we just had a six-man tag, and, you know, six-man tag, you can't really have story, so I took it upon myself. I'm gonna start with Alexia, and she's gonna just, you know, do ranas and, like, flip around me and beat the crap out of me, and like finally I'm gonna get her for the cutoff, and it's gonna be gross, and people are gonna hate me just for based off the cutoff and blah blah blah, and then the finish is gonna be she's gonna destroy me out of nowhere, and that's the pin. You know, like it's just so easy to like insert a little bit of story in a match that would typically just be a clusterfuck, because it's just, oh, that guy's an asshole, he keeps picking on her, oh, but she can handle herself, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden she gets her comeuppance from the cutoff. So I don't know, I just think it's fun and it's easy, and you can do things that like you typically can't do with a man to man or a girl to girl. So I don't know.
No, absolutely.
Wrestling, just have fun.
Yeah, right. And that's why I wanted to ask you specifically about that, because even talking to you, you have such a concept of ring psychology and storytelling, and I wanted that explanation on this show. So it makes total sense to me. And my second question to you, which when you were talking about Danny Garcia, was just going out there and having a 30-minute match with him just on the fly. Are you more of a call it in the ring kind of person, or do you like to kind of get like blueprints?
Well, I'm trying to transition into the calling it in the ring a little bit more. The thing is, I started working, I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like a student show, but not really. It's called a showcase show that Crossbody does. They basically they'll pay your gas. They can't guarantee you actual pay, but it's potentially just a way to get reps and wrestle in front of a crowd. And it's mostly meant for newer people, but obviously the promoter's not going to turn away guys who are a little bit more experienced and want to work with the newer kids and help them out. So I've been doing that a lot, and you learn that when you plan everything with, like, especially someone who might not have the best memory yet or the best, or common sense in the ring yet, they might forget things. So then you end up having to call it on the fly. Right. So I definitely like to have a spot or two in my head that, like, I think is going to be hot or whatever. But I think it's very important to be able to know how to call it in the ring and just be able to feel comfortable. And I find that when you call it in the ring, you get less blown up and you get less worried, and nothing can really go wrong because you're just figuring it out. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's definitely in the long run more fun to just call it in the ring.
Now, with the way that wrestling is these days, I feel like that's more of a less common occurrence. But at the same time, there's been a lot of growth in the wrestling industry over the years. The curtain's been pulled back a lot. Some people say kayfabe is completely dead. I don't know if I agree with that or not. But do you think that wrestling has evolved for the better over the years, or are we this generation of wrestlers trying to kind of bring it back to what it was before?
I don't think I'm personally in a position to decide whether it's better or worse. But, I mean, whatever it's going to do, it's going to do, right? Like, whatever I think isn't going to change the way it's going to go. I think for the most part it's for the better. Like we're doing things that people have never seen before. Like, spots that used to be thought like unthinkable are being done. People are going viral. The only thing that I hope for is that people wrestle less for the viral gifts and more for the crowd, in front of them. Right. Because it's cool. It's cool to go viral on a GIF, obviously, but like I feel like that's something that should happen by accident almost. Because if you're like thinking, how can I go viral? How can I go viral? Oh, I know, I'll do this. Then like you're kind of jeopardizing the the artistic integrity, I guess, of wrestling. And I feel like it's not saying that, but I don't know. I feel like you should be wrestling for the crowd at the end of the day. And if you're wrestling for a 10-second clip that might go on the internet, then I don't think you have the big picture in mind. Yeah. I think that's how people get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
And if we could tone that down a bit, I think that would be great. Another thing, I personally try not to like divulge too much of my personal life. Yeah. On social specifically. Right. Because I don't know, I find people who aren't involved in wrestling tend to think that they're involved in wrestling because they think they know you all of a sudden. It's like, yes, I'm being friendly, but like I don't really know you, and like you're not really part of the show. Like I have like a pet peeve almost when say like a promoter posts something or whatever, and then a fan will comment and they'll be like, oh, we need to get so and so on this show or whatever. Book it for the promoter. Yeah. Like if I was a promoter, I'd be like, don't tell me how to do my job. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, like you're the people who are going to come and pay. I get that. I understand that. But like saying it so like I don't know, bossy. It's just like, relax, man. Like let me do my job. You can do your job. I guess the curtain is pulled back a little bit, but fans are trying to pull it back even more. You know what I mean? Like especially girl wrestlers, like they'll get messages from guys and they're like, hey, that's how you wrestle. Like, okay, cool, that's fine, but like, don't be creepy. Yeah. And I feel like that opens opens the door for people to be creepier than they realize they're being, maybe. Yeah. So I don't know.
I'm gonna agree with you on that one too. So this is kind of winding down here. I just got a couple more things for you. First one being, you have some hilarious fight or flight promos out there, and I love watching them. And again, like
we just filmed one this morning, actually.
I guess my question to you is, were you always charismatic with like cutting promos and being on the mic and videos and things like that? Or is that something that you really had to work at to be good at in this business?
I want to say no, I haven't been good at it. But I did take a lot of theater growing up.
Okay.
So there might be a level of comfortableness from that, but I feel like I've always been like the class clown.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm kind of quiet. I'm kind of shy, so some people don't know that about me. So when they see the video, it's like even funnier, I guess. But Vertigo and I have a pretty good thing going because he's very, very much production minded. Like, if you've seen any of the videos he's put out, they're always really, really nice. Like,
oh, yeah.
The production's really good, the sound is really good, the camera work is really good. So with him on that kind of side and me on like the kind of creativity side where I'm like, maybe this would be funny, or I come up with like just a quick little like story for whatever the promo is or something like that, like something or like a script. I guess like if I'm the guy who's writing the script, he would be the director. You know what I mean? Like, So we I don't know. Whatever the other one is lacking, I feel if I'm lacking one thing, he can complete that. And if he's lacking one thing, I can complete that. So I think in that sense, we really help one another in the promos, and it helps that we both have the same kind of sense of humor.
Right.
And it's actually funny because the first big promo we came out with after we decided to start doing this whole like cool kids persona, we were actually really nervous because we're like, well, I hope we're funny and we don't just think we're funny.
Yeah, right.
You know how it is, like when you're with friends, you think you're hilarious, and then all of a sudden you put it out, like you tweet whatever it was that was funny, and I'm like, maybe you get one like because it turns out you're not that funny.
Yeah. Well,
we got lucky.
I'm confirming that they're hilarious. They're great. So I've put you over plenty in this podcast. So now I want you to put yourself over and just tell us, what you got coming up next, and let everybody know where to find you on social media who want to follow you and follow your career.
Cool. Well, if you want, you can come catch me at a showcase in Kitchener, Ontario. That's the same showcase I was just talking about. Crossbody puts them on. I think they're only $5 to get in, so like it's a really cheap show. And I promise you, it's not like a bunch of scrubs. It's actually good workers. On the 29th, I got Bordertown and Fort Erie. And the week after that, I got Barrie. Barrie would be probably my home promotion if I had to pick one. They've done a lot for me in there. They're really starting to put a lot of money into production, so hopefully they'll start getting videos out there, and maybe they'll hit up Independent Wrestling TV, and hopefully, everybody will find out what I already know, that they're a great promotion.
Awesome.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Fuerza S2Papi. It means Fuerza is your daddy, for those of you wondering. And if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm at Fuerza Rules, and I like to post mostly photos, but if you're going to follow me for my story. I feel like my story is funny.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. We've been trying for a bit, and I really would love to work you again, except one-on-one this time and not a tag. And, Yeah,
man, I'm down.
I mean, we've both grown leaps and bounds since then, so let's do it again and see what happens, right?
For sure.
All right, cool, man. Well, thank you again, and I will hopefully see you out there sometime soon.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me, dude. It's fun.
No problem. All right, Rock Soldiers, so thank you for joining us for another episode today. I really, truly hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I hope you're going to check Gabriel Fuerza out, especially if you're in his area. You have no reason not to. I promise you, I'm not just talking him up and hyping him up because he's somebody I've worked with or somebody I know. I truly follow him on social media just like you guys will and do, and he's just that good. So check him out. He mentioned Fight or Flight with Von Vertigo, another amazing talent who hopefully we'll have on the show in the future. I did already speak to him about it, so we'll get the other half of Fight or Flight coming on, and we'll tell some more stories and talk a little bit to him too. So check that out. And also, before we go, I do want to let you guys know that the All Bets Are Off podcast will be at the Nickel City Comic Con, Buffalo, New York, May 15th, 16th, and 17th live. We're going to be doing a live broadcast. We're going to talk to you about what's going on there, and leading up to it, we're going to be letting you know what kind of guests are going to be there. So there's also a horror fest going on with the Comic-Con, so we'll be, it's all the things that we talk about on the show. There's going to be wrestlers there, there's going to be horror guests there, celebrities, and we're going to kind of be bringing you updates and working with the Nickel City Con to do so. So today I do want to let you know if anybody's thinking about traveling to the Comic-Con or coming to Buffalo for it, Sting will be there. I'll get the exact details on what days he'll be there, and of course, the horror fest will be going on, and we'll be announcing guests for that as well. So for now, since this is a wrestling episode, episode, I will leave you with that. So if you want to meet the man they call Sting, WWE Hall of Famer, WCW legend, you will want to do that at the Nickel City Con at the Buffalo Convention Center, May 15th, 16th, and 17th. So stay tuned for more details on that, and thank you for listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Do you like sports, interactive polls, friendly banter from two guys that probably shouldn't even be on the microphone doing this stuff anyways? Well, if you do, then you're in luck. Us two knuckleheads, Brandon and myself, comprise the Listen In Podcast. That's right, Listen In, the podcast. We're talking sports, we're talking news, we're talking topical things, we're talking all sorts of things, my babies, and you are all invited to listen in right here on the Gear Radio Network.